Good afternoon. Oh my God, it has been such a long day. I do apologize because we are very much in the midst of all of the things that are happening today down here in Malaysia, specifically across the six countries, right? Six states right now, and it is actually very much into the thick of things. My name is Meor Addelan, and you are now watching Sinar Daily, coming to you live in the midst of, as mentioned, the whole state election 2023. The six states, as mentioned, is Kedah, Penang, Terengganu, Kelantan, Selangor, and Negeri Sembilan. Expected close to 9 million or more than 9 million registered voters are expected to swarm all of the polling stations across the nations to cast their vote, to cast their ballot, to make sure that they do their responsibility as a Malaysian, picking the best candidate that they have for a better nation, or at least a better state moving forward for all of these six states. And just to give you an idea of how has it been going for the past few hours since the doors were open as early as 8 o'clock all around Malaysia. It has been reported that the EC, the Election Commission, have announced as of 1 p.m. earlier today, they have yet to reach 50% of voters registering their votes across these six states. Oh my God, I'm so apprehensive right now because it is such an alarming number, to say the least. Honestly, looking at Terengganu, the most who actually came out and vote at 50%, Kedah is at 49%, Penang at 46%, Selangor at 44%, Negeri Sembilan 42%, and Kelantan at 40%. On an average, national average, it should be at about 45%. The question is, where are all of the other voters? Are they just waiting for the last minute until they cast their votes? Are they just waiting and abiding their time as much as possible to see any new development that is coming out from every camp there is for them to make a decision? Or are they just not bothered with in voting at all, not thinking that the decision would make any difference whatsoever? That's what we're trying to understand here for today's edition of Sinar Daily, Power to the People. We have two very excellent guests together with me today to digest this further, much deeper. We have to my furthest left Dr. Rabi'ah Aminudin, who is an assistant professor in political science at the International Islamic University of Malaysia, where she teaches research methodology, public policy analysis, and public administration. Doctor, how are you?
I'm good.
All right, I've seen you have marked your finger down as a proud voter. Where did you go to vote? Where did you cast your vote?
I cast my vote at the hottest seat in Selangor and 18 Hulu Kelang.
Hulu Kelang, wow. Okay, how was that experience for you earlier in the morning? Share with us a bit on the experience on the people, the turnout when you went out this morning.
I think this morning I had a very pleasant experience. They actually had buggy surveys to transfer us from the school gate to the polling center, and I actually waited 10-15 minutes to vote. So it's not a very long wait at all, but there were queues already, but not that long.
Not that long.
Yeah.
There were queues, but it wasn't that long. So it was fine. It was nice.
It was nice.
Yeah. So people, they have been going out doing their duties as Malaysians down there. And one person also that we have together with us, the man in the middle here, we have Akramsyah Sanusi, who has vast experience in his field. He is also a declared oil man, that's what you said to me earlier. He's also an economy expert in regards to consultation. He's also the previous, or should I say an chairman of Maracorp, as well as an ex-board member of LTAT and BHP Marketing. One of the early founding members of Bersatu 007, if I'm not mistaken, Sheikh Akram. But you also wanted to be mentioned here that you got kicked out as well.
Yeah,
wow.
I was kicked out in good company. I was kicked out together with Mahathir, Mukhlis, Sadiq, and Mazli. So kicked out, but for the right reasons.
Kicked out for the right reason. That's. I mean, if you believe in your reasons, in your thoughts, and
in your principles,
of course. Yeah. So you're not definitely ashamed of that at all. All right, let's get to the nitty-gritty discussion that we're having over here. First off, as mentioned earlier on the show, the numbers, the turnout numbers that was reported by EC has not been really that encouraging in comparison to what we have earlier, or should I say late last year, back during the GE of 2020, GE15 2022, where the numbers are reported, as mentioned, at 1 p.m. the turnout has been 50% or less, in which that Selangor, the one of the powerhouse states that we are in right now, has registered a vote of only 44%. Now, why is this happening, to your opinion? Doctor, to you first.
I think there are a few factors that might result in this low turnout for voting. One thing is that political fatigue. I must say that people, despite this heavy campaigning that had been going on, not just for 2 weeks, it actually had been going on for 8 months. And I think people do feel somehow tired, and you know, somehow some of them might just want to be like, let's leave politics aside. I think that could be a reason as well. And secondly, I think we have to remember most of the states that had a bit higher turnout, except for Kelantan, they had a public holiday today, right? So that could also contributed to higher turnout compared to the Penang and Negeri Sembilan and also Selangor. So I still have hope that we would see better turnout after 2-3 p.m. today, hopefully. And for those, because I've seen on how some people say that they are working, and so they would want to vote after works. And I think third one, I'm not sure if this is possible, but people might not want to vote because they don't feel that they have any option to vote. Like, especially, you know, people might feel quite apprehensive to vote for their former nemesis in this election. So yeah. I mean, it's a bit of a conundrum, as what we have actually discussed on the show earlier this morning as well. The fact that when you have people switching cabs, people suddenly switching ideologies. At one moment, you're like, no, we are not friends, we're not buddies, I do not know you, I disown you. But then a second later, they were like, okay, we're BFFs, we're blood brothers, we're going to the end of the earth together. Obviously, people get confused so easily with all of this thing happening on the higher side, isn't it, Akram?
Yeah, they do get confused. And I think it's also, when we talked about, when the professor said about fatigue, it's also about the nature of politics in particular over that was heightened in PRU 14 and PRU 15. I think we've had a slow progression of what we call politics of destruction or politics of rejection since, say, PRU 12. There were 10, but in PRU 14, it was a clear politics of rejection, destruction, rejection of Dr. Sri Najib, and then also then a counter-rejection of those who are not supportive of the government at the time. And then going into PRU 15, it was almost a rejection of everyone. Rejection of Zahid, rejection of Dr. Sri Anwar, rejection of everyone. So we've come to the point where that has continued into PRN 6. There's just, we've got to reject this fella because he's the wrong race. We've got to reject this fella because his politics is all wrong. We've got to reject this fella because of, you know, his nose is a bit crooked. So I think that does come to a point where people need to be driven by more than negativity. They need, especially the young, they need to have a reason to go out to vote that's more than because they don't like someone. They need to have more hope behind it. So when I interacted with, I'm from Kedah, and my family is from Kedah. My politics was mainly Kedah. I'm from Selangor, but I vote in KL. Okay, so
that's why you have an inkless finger. There you go.
and hence I had the freedom to move around innocuously, and since Pejuang is not, which I'm involved in now, is not contesting. We have freedom to interact with all parties. And what we're hearing is groups or blocks of votes which were assured in the past. Like for instance, in Penang, there's always this assurance that the non-Malay or the Chinese vote will always go down the Pakatan Harapan way. But that has actually been very much disrupted because of the infighting, so-called, that's happened over there. And that probably explains part of the reason why there's this massive low turnout in Penang's case, which is really awkward, right? I mean, they average usually about 80% plus voter turnout. Now, they're likely going to be lucky if they hit 65%, right? That's scary. And then you have a situation like, for instance, in all these states where the youth that were so empowered in PRU 15 are sort of like refusing to come out. I mean, I'm hearing people talking about, oh, let's go makan, let's go picnic, you know, which is what we remember how the youth were like before Undi 18, you know. But now you see the change, and we can worry about the value add that you got from Undi 18, whether that is actually going to continue on if the politics doesn't improve back into something that's a politics of constructive building of the nation type, you know?
Yeah. Echoing of what Encik Akram actually said there, Doctor, I mean, it was such a huge deal when Undi 18, when the younger Malaysians, the 18 and above, were able actually to vote for the first time. You could see it across the board. They were excited. They wanted to voice out their opinion. They wanted to show that they have rights as well in choosing their own leader. Whatever happens during GE15, do you think that this time around, they just gone to themselves like, all right, okay, we've seen what happened in November. I don't want to go through this again. This is so toxic. This is so bad for me. Do you think that has actually influenced them in going out, in going and mark their ballot papers like that? What do you think?
I think there are perhaps a few factors also in this. In the research that we have done with younger voters, people always think that younger voters do not know what they want, who they want to vote. But actually they know. They have values of what they want to see in the leaders that they chose. Yeah. But I think they got pretty much a bit disenchanted with what happened in in GE15, that they might feel that, well, what is the point?
It's not easy, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. And what's the point of voting if things are turning out to be quite messy, as what they see now? And I think secondly is that even though you see political parties went all out for their campaigning, but then it does not capture the attention of the youth because they still feel that what's in there for me, all right? Yeah. And I think they don't feel that their needs are actually being catered by the political parties, either by the government or by the opposition.
Yeah, and to be in this particular position is actually quite concerning, as you mentioned as well, Cik Akram, is that a lot of these voters, whoever it is that they may be, they have so much hatred towards one or both of the candidate, or even 3 or 4, whatever, depending on whatever it is that they are. The problem is, my question is that it is not their fault, because during the campaign, from all sorts of parties, the only thing that they were preaching about is hatred towards the other guy. It's not about what I can do for people. They don't stand up on the podium and just shout out the things that he or she could actually do for that particular area to make it better. All he or she does is that they would condemn the other person. They would point out the flaws of the other person. Like it or not, at the end of the day, that will be influenced by the prospective voters. Yeah. And then they would go out feeling hatred as well. And that's not healthy, isn't it?
No, it's not. It also gives an impression that is the urban myth. Okay. That politics is because it's the art of actually getting people to do stuff, or the art of actually attaining the power so that they can achieve things. Yep. It gives it reinforces this urban myth that politics is all going to be dirty, politics is all destructive, etc. But in reality, there's a lot that can be achieved if the right sort of politics is. I mean, you've got champions in history that rose through politics, be it Mandela, be it Gandhi, be it Kennedy, you know. Yeah. And these are all politicians, and they're seen as true leaders that brought the difference to the world. So we need to return that sort of enfranchisement to the young by a better messaging. And I think the fact that you've got PRN across 6 states has caused this massive confusion also on the fact that this is a pilihan raya negeri. Yeah. So for the pilihan raya negeri, the focus should really be what's happening in that state. Yeah. Instead, the only thing to me, maybe if I was actually in these states, I would feel different, but the only thing that really captured the imagination during this period was that debate between YB Rafizi Ramli and YB Shahir Sulaiman. Yeah. And the only thing that happened that came out of that, to me, that was positive was at last we get to see YB Shahir Sulaiman as a new potential future leader. Otherwise, unfortunately, and begging a pardon to both these YBs, one was talking at this level all about how things were bad in the past from this level, and the other was talking about how things were good in the past from this level. And it was so high level that people, especially at the Don level, right? At the on the ground level, the common folks. So what's in it on me, or what's on it for me? You know, and if they allow for the debate to really go down to the basics, the issues are still the same issues. Even if you want to take the national context, right? It should be about inflation. How are we going to sort out about inflation? It's to do with, for instance, I'm from Kedah. What's the issue in Kedah? We don't have any more of this planting 2 times a year. We're planting actually 3 times every 2 years. You know, and now you're talking about wanting to escalate from that to 3 times a year. So you can say it, but how do you do it? You know, these are and these are things where if I was what do you call it? Let's say, like an example, I was a federal government wanting to take a state government, but the state government is in opposition. I would just say federal funding will go down specifically for this and have it really planned out properly, because the state agency that's in charge is actually a federal agency, right? But we don't see that coming across clearly. Even if it was said, it just came out as rhetoric, rather than actual concrete plans that would, you know, enfranchise people, inspire people to come and vote in the direction that you want. So this is where I think these are gaps that need to be closed. I mean, as a member of a party that's not competing, actually this is great news because great, these parties that are competing continue, you know, because maybe they will actually open the room for other parties to come in the future with new ideas. Who knows, right?
Well, it's good to be on the sidelines sometimes, you know, like looking at whatever else other people are doing. But ultimately, Doctor, can we at least get 70% of turnouts in regards of voters? Do you think by 6 p.m. today, is it achievable? Is it even remotely possible? Your thoughts?
I am not sure, seeing that even by at this hour, it revolves around 30%, it doesn't even hit 40% in many of the states. So I think if we get double of that, it's already good enough, in my opinion. And I think we still have time. I think we need to make sure that people go out and vote, because one of the things about low voters turnout is that it also gives room for people to question the legitimacy of the government that will be formed, whether you are really the choice of the people. And I think in this context, political context, we don't want to see that kind of questioning, and it can disrupt the people from moving on from the current political saga. Right? It will be another long political drama for us Malaysians.
As mentioned by Cik Akram just now, I mean, like, this has been going on for the longest time ever, since the previous GE15, and it has been spilled over until today. So we do hope that all of you Malaysians out there, wherever it is that you may are, especially in those 6 states, do go out and perform your responsibilities. But in any case, in any election whatsoever, it's never without its stories, you know, its issues, or its appeal factor, if I may say so, as it was reported by Sinar Daily earlier today that in Penang, in SK Sri Relau, voting has been suspended at one stream over a discovery of an unsealed ballot box. It was reported by a candidate. The candidate will do a police report later at 3 o'clock today. And on top of that, it was also alleged that a clone ballot papers have been discovered down in Seberang Jaya. The police are investigating this. My question, this keeps things exciting, isn't it? This is drama that we want, isn't it?
No, actually, this is exactly the drama that we don't want.
Sure.
But one thing that is fascinating, though, is that it's interesting that the shoe is now in the other foot. Because accusations of this sort of naughtiness usually happen.
Power outages and whatnot.
That was usually happening when Pakatan Harapan was on the opposition government.
Sure.
It's also, I'm going to get a lot of friends in Pakatan Harapan upset with me here.
It's fine.
But truly, what are you going to say then? Who's then at fault? If you're going to say that the people in power are at fault, you are the people in power, both in the state and in the federal level. And in fact, some of the people that are actually running things in the Suruhanjaya Pilihan Raya were there since 2018, which were put in place during that Pakatan Harapan government. So I think it just shows that there's still areas that we can improve. But going back to that, what was mentioned by Professor and yourself also, we cannot allow things like this to make or disenfranchise or even disillusion the youth. You know, a friend of mine actually was complaining, actually not just one friend, a few friends were complaining, they can't get their kids out to vote. And I was encouraging them, no, you go get them out to vote. Because not because they don't feel like they want to vote or whatever. They don't feel that, you just need to stop them from getting into the habit of not going out to vote. Because the important thing, just go. You feel so bad, you don't know who to vote, just throw a spoiled vote ka, undi bebas ka, is your choice, right? But just get them into the practice, because we need to get the youth to have the habit of voting. The moment they don't, then you will have people that will not vote for years and years and years, and you end up with a really bad electorate. Like, I mean, you know how the turnouts can be in the US, right? Really bad, so-called hebat punya demokrasi tapi orang tak keluar vote. We cannot allow that to happen in our country.
And looking at this, Doctor, again, looking at all this minor incidents, if I can even call it minor, but as an outsider, for instance, looking into what's happening at these kind of scenes, it's just a bit of a mockery, isn't it? I mean, it's something that at least the EC or you know, the governing body, Suruhanjaya Pilihan Raya, they should really make a big concern about this, because again, we've been voting for the longest time ever. I mean, like, ever since Tunku Abdul Rahman's time, and this is not our first game, literally. Why are these things keep happening? I mean, is it just propaganda? Someone out there, they're just bored, like, oh, okay, I need to do something fun today. Let's just, you know, poke fun at specifically for the Penangites. So, or is it just that? Is it just some harmless, foolish joke that somebody's trying to pull here? What do you think?
I think it's, of course, I would say it's too early to say until investigation has been going on. But I think that it points out a few factors. Actually, one is increased awareness of voters, candidates on the electoral process, that they can actually pinpoint something is wrong in this election process, right? So, and I know my right as a candidate, I know my right as voters, that I can report if this ballot box is unsealed, then it should not be counted. And I think it indicates higher awareness, higher level of awareness of the electoral process. Second is, you know, that's why I don't want to comment much on this, because if we find that investigation proves that this happened to be an election tactic or whatsoever, you know, it might be, but I think we are seeing less and less of this kind of tactics. I think in the past, there were more dramas during elections.
That's for sure. I mean, like, at least the drama level has toned down a bit. But this, Cik Akram, this definitely gives the authorities at least a much better sense of guard, knowing that this has already happened in a short notice. So they will be like on super guard across all of the other polling stations, isn't it, to really look out for any discrepancies or anything that's out of the norm, I guess.
Well, yes, I suppose. But let me also just give another opinion around this. I've had some experiences where people have had legitimate concerns, but in the end, they were actually well answered. Like, for instance, there were stories before about, in Lebah Pantai, if I'm not mistaken, 33 names of voters are voting out of the same address. It turned out the reason why that was the case is because there was a kawasan serumah setinggan, and that address was the only legal address for them to register in, right? So explained. In the case of where I lost in PRU 14, I was leading by about 100 votes until 2 boxes arrived. And lo and behold, after the boxes were open, I lost. But interestingly, the incumbent lost as well, and the incumbent was a sitting minister, and the past candidate won. So for me, that ended up being reassuring. Should the incumbent have won, surely I would have said, "Oh, 2 boxes came in, and I lost." So yeah, the investigation is going to be very important. But sometimes people have a very heightened level of sensitivity, kan? So let's wait till that investigation does turn out something, and let's give some hope and belief that investigation is going to turn out quite well. If I may, I just want to make one comment about this voter turnout. One thing that I find fascinating about the voter turnout is that the Kedah and Terengganu case has actually been quite, it's a lot better than the other states. I think as of 1 o'clock was when I last looked at the data. they were off only by a couple of percentages from the same time of period of 15 last year, and they will probably be 70+% versus the 80% that was then. I suspect this is all to do with election machinery.
Okay.
Because in Kedah and Terengganu, they've got really sharp election machinery among the BN and PAS, and in particular PAS these days. So I suspect that's how the voters are actually being frog marched to the voting booths, and that's why also it gives an impression that probably the incumbent state governments probably have an advantage there. But it is interesting to see that in Kelantan that isn't being emulated. And I suspect that's because of the recent announcement that the current sitting MB and deputy MB may not return to their post. So all these trends are actually quite explainable. I would actually be extremely worried for the other three states, Negeri Sembilan, Selangor and Penang, because knowing in the backdrop of that each also have their own machinery among the different parties, and DAP in particular, they work on the basis of a very strong volunteer force. So what's happened to that volunteer force? We'll see what the final ballots will show, but these are things where I think we sometimes don't give enough respect for how machinery actually delivers a vote. We tend to think about issues, we think about leaders, but in the end, this is one truism of politics. In the end, it's the best organized that wins.
Is the best organized that wins.
Yeah. So we'll see how it pans out, and I'm hopeful once we actually get that final result, it will be proven again that that's the case.
Just to share with our fellow viewers as well, new numbers has actually come out as of 2 p.m. today. We're looking at the numbers of turnout for the state of Kedah at 56%, Kelantan 45%, Terengganu 56%, the highest of all the six, Penang at 53%, Selangor at 51%, and Negeri Sembilan at 49. Again, we are left with, looking my watch right now, only about 2.5 hours to go. It was actually expected that people will come in droves coming out. I mean, that was being expected. You hear it from all of the candidates, from all the parties around. People just can't wait to go out and vote. But after witnessing what is happening right now, is it something that all parties should be worried about? Because again, if there's not many people coming down, or even if like isolated cases where there has been some voting tampering, alleged voting tampering, should it happen and everything, the current government should be licking their lips, isn't it? Because it's in their favor, or am I wrong? Doctor?
I think when we are talking about like why people are refusing to go out and vote, I think perhaps there is this quiet discontent among people that they don't really show their frustration, disappointment. They attend the ceramah or the grand finale for just the buzz of it, right?
They just want to see the favorite artist performing.
Yeah, or favorite politicians, who knows?
Yeah, perhaps, don't know.
And I think second is like what I found on the ground is there is also very little understanding of what PRN and how different PRN is from GE. So I think going back to your question earlier about Undi 18, whether it is a good thing or not, I think we were in a rush to implement Undi 18 without providing the tools for the young ones with the with literacy on what politics is and what is political institutions, and therefore they are left with a lot of, maybe I don't care attitude, or I don't know why are we going out to vote again and things like that.
Okay, but in regards of these isolated incidents across, I mean, we're looking at reports coming out from the island of Penang, from Penang specifically. The fact that you're quite experienced in this, I mean, granted, lost by 2 boxes. I don't really want to, dig that up a bit more. But what could the authority do, or what should the authorities actually do? How should they handle this? I mean, by the extent of the law, obviously, because this falls under a specific act that is protected by all parties, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think we shouldn't. Okay, all of this actually goes under the Elections Act, and it also has clear lines of authority in terms of where the investigation goes. The problem is when actually everyone starts pretending that they should be clever and get involved in this, leave it to SPR to drive this. If there's support that's required by law enforcement, they are the parties that are mandated to do this. Is the worst thing to happen is to allow this to be politicized, which has a risk of happening, especially if anyone particularly loses in those seats, right? Yeah. It's also very interesting that it's those particular seats, because we know Seberang Jaya is a hot seat. Yep. We know if it's Ralau is one of the Balik Pulau seats. I can't remember which one, but also seem to be a hot seat. So we'll see how it pans out, whether it's actually just a ploy by supporters to undermine who will be the final winner, because that simply might be just a way for them to trigger a re-voting or a re-election or a small a PRK in those two seats in particular. But yeah, best is actually just to follow the line of authority and carry on that way. But I think to me the biggest hope I have actually from this whole instability, and you were saying something about how there was a feeling of unhappiness towards the main parties as well, right? I think one of the bigger benefits is that room that's being given potentially to parties that usually are ignored or have almost been forgotten in this election. And it can happen specifically because of the local issues surrounding a PRN. Yep. So, for instance, what I heard in Penang, for instance, is that Parti Rakyat Malaysia, PRM, may actually end up getting some ground. Whether the ground that they gain to will result in them getting a seat or two, who knows? Yeah. But, that's an interesting development, especially with the Deputy Chief Minister suddenly leaving the AP, declaring a few other fellas, then moving the other way and all that. And I'm also looking forward to seeing how Muda does. Yeah. Because usually Muda has been successful where they have been, really because of the partnership they've had with Pakatan Harapan. Because whilst Muda does have this exuberance of youth, they does have a good, strong social media movement, they've never really been able to build a good machinery. They're a bit too young, and it takes time to actually build that sort of backbone in the party. This is going to be really, truly the first time they're going to go in there with no party supporting them with the machinery. So we'll see. Maybe sentiment will favor them. Maybe they'll see the same fate as some other parties in PRU 15. Everyone lose deposit. Who knows? But I think with the backdrop of people not being happy with the main parties, we can be hopeful that there may be some emergence or rejuvenation of some of these smaller parties.
All right, okay. And staying on the topic of this isolated case that happened in Seberang Jaya about the alleged clone ballot papers, just want to ask your opinion, Doctor. For those who are thinking about wanting to go out and vote but have not yet, still having some reserved opinions, not really knowing what it is that they want to do, they see this report. They read this report saying that, okay, some ballots are already going out there, clone ballot reports, then why should I even go out? Would that deter people going out to vote even more, or will it fire them up a bit more in saying that now I need to go out because we don't want this thing to happen? What do you think the sentiment will be then across?
Well, I think what would happen is that people, I'm not sure even if people do pay attention to these isolated cases.
Well, the power of TikTok and Instagram and everything at the tips of your fingers, right? Yeah.
But then also it may cause people not to go out for voting, because then they might say that these reflect the trust level of people to the institution. And I think if people feel that they cannot trust SPR to do their works properly, then they might feel that there is no trust anymore in the institution. Why should I play an unfair game, right? But on the other hand, to some who might feel fired up, there might be supporters who feel that, oh, this is really unfair, and then I need to go out and help my party to win the election. But I doubt, because the sentiment towards political parties are diminishing, right? There are more and more people who we consider as voters on the fence, right? They don't really attach themselves to a particular party or identify themselves as a party member. So I'm seeing that if we make all of this as a brouhaha, and then we might we might actually lower the trust level of people in our institution, government institution.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on what Dr. has actually said, Akram, because the fact that the parties are now, I mean, like, it's very tough for someone to actually vote for a party anymore because of the chaos and whatever it is that has happened, as you has explained earlier on the show. But you have seen tactics where a vote for the party means a vote for the Prime Minister, for instance. A vote for the party means a vote for whoever it is who's at the helm. You know, we've seen ceramahs and sessions where the candidate himself was overshadowed by PMX because Datuk Sri Anwar was there, you know, championing the candidate. Great, that's fine. I want my big boss to champion for me. But it overshadows the true candidate who's actually contesting in that area. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, we've seen this before elsewhere, where actually the arrival of the so-called tokoh results in the candidate that was winning turning into a losing candidate. It's happened before. What do you call it? I won't mention names because I think I'll get sued. But I can already think of specific cases. Specific cases, you know, like one of the let's say this toko called Ali. He goes to campaign for his friend, so-called, because he heard his friend is winning, and then just happens that the opponent is also named Ali, and he goes on stage and he declares, "I want there to be only one great Ali in Malaysia, and that's me." So the locals immediately think, oh, why should we vote for this Ali? We should take our Ali and make our Ali great, right? So this sort of thing, this happened so many times before in what I've seen. But what I think is, I think also in line with what was being said before, this whole thing around how people look at naughtiness at the ballot, or rather all these potential fake or clone papers and all this sort of stuff. I think you can't make that a reason for people to have as an excuse not to vote. In the end, the reason why you vote has nothing to do whether or not there's fast ballot. The reason why you vote in the end is because you want this particular leader carrying these particular values to support you. Now, for a PRN in particular, it's even more intimate. Because this is the fella that if suddenly there's a family member that died, and there is nowhere I can find a kengkapan, I can actually go to this fella's representative to get that very, very basic necessity. Even in this day and age, this is how our orang kampung expect of the adun and his representative. That level of intimacy is what we're after. So if we are really looking at it so personal, so personally, why are you worried about whether or not the ballot is cloned or not? It may incite anger, meaning that now I should really go out because otherwise this cheat is going to get it, right? It might incite that, but no, that shouldn't be your consideration at all. You should come out. You should vote simply because, this is the person that I want. And in this case, the reason I want him is because he will be this close to servicing me as an individual at the grassroots level.
Exactly. One question I do want to ask, I mean, we're changing gears a bit here. This report actually just came in at about 2 o'clock earlier this afternoon, reported by Sinar Daily. It has said that Tun Dr. Mahathir today has said the government should legislate the 3R ban if they are so serious about it. I can see both of you smiling very wide. Obviously, I mean, like, this will halt the freedom of speech, or would it not? I want to get both of your comments on this. Doctor, you first.
This is a very sensitive issue.
We are all sensitive here at Sinar Daily.
Yes. Well, I have always maintained this position. We cannot constrain anymore discussions on sensitive issues, but it should be done in a healthy environment, in a conducive environment, not to be used as a political tool, because otherwise it will just drive the voters to the wall, and then people would just, the political parties would just will not take responsibility for these voters for anything that they say that disrupt the stability or harmony of this societal relations in Malaysia. One thing I think it got very mixed up, whether it's the government's decision. And when we talk about race and religion, I think we should have a proper discussion because that is what Malaysia is at a crossroad. But we cannot move from discussing race and religion from political viewpoints. Right? We have to discuss it at a higher level.
Okay.
We have to find who we are as Malaysians. And I think if we ban these discussions at all, it would definitely stall us and bring us, backwards few years. Not just few years, few decades maybe. But in terms of using it as a political tool to mobilize voters is another issue.
Yeah. All right. So Encik Akram has been nodding, shaking, making faces. And now let's hear his opinion on this.
Well, first of all, rather than actually, I would like to reserve full judgment until I actually heard what he actually said. Okay. Because, with Tun Mahathir, when he says stuff like that, he could be just being very sarcastic about the whole thing. He's very well known for being sarcastic about the whole thing. Yes. And truth be told, this is the gentleman who everyone has been saying that he should stop and not say anything anymore because he's been Prime Minister for so long and because he's 98 years old. Even when people say that, I get very upset. Not because of my close association with him, but because, are you saying that just because a person is old or a former Prime Minister, he should shut up? Because if you're saying that a former Prime Minister who is old should shut up, I think that's extremely rude and very un-Malaysian. Yeah. And echoing also what the professor has said about how we need to have civilized conversations to mature ourselves. Yeah. This is extremely important. And I, for one, am very concerned about legislating anything in this country. Because I beg your pardon, but the learned people supposedly in the parliament these days, they keep messing up what is it they legislate. For instance, this anti-party hopping law business is a complete disaster. I mean, I was very much against the idea of an anti-party hopping law because it goes against the whole grain of the Westminster system. Interestingly, if you follow the history of the Westminster system, the two most famous party hoppers in the British Parliament were David Lloyd George and Winston Churchill. They both jumped parties because of principle. And one was the hero of Prime Minister of the First World War, and the other is the hero of Prime Minister of the Second World War. So these are people beyond reproach. So in the end, party hopping fulfills a function in the Westminster system. But what differs between these two gentlemen and the people that hop parties in Malaysia is they are better characters than the leaders we have. So rather than worrying and trying to get people to behave properly by legislating, we should just get people to behave better. We should choose people who have better character to be leaders. But to get that, our people also have to have a better development of character. And this is in line with what the professor has said. Rather than us actually hide behind legislation, muzzle people because you don't like what they're hearing or what they're saying because of this whole 3R business or any other business, mind you. I mean, I don't think the 3R business is actually even the biggest threat in Malaysia. The biggest threat that's coming to us from overseas is this whole transgender, gender-neutral nonsense, which can derail entire nations, and we're worried about 3R. We've been debating 3R since the foundation of our country. And so why legislate? So beg your pardon, I'm not really in a position of Tun Mahathir. I'm buying into the idea that he's being wholly sarcastic about the idea of legislating 3R.
We're definitely going to have another topic together with Akram down the line in regards to the topic that I said. I'm not going to reveal it right now. You have to stay tuned and watch Sinar Daily for that. We have almost come to the end of our session here, but of course I want to hear from both of you once again your prediction. I know the football season has recently started, with the EPL and Bundesliga and whatnot, but let's talk about the predictions about the 6 states which are very much, they have about 2 hours to go. Doctor, what would your prediction be?
Oh yeah.
Will it be a 3-3, 2-4, 5-1? What would you think?
The time to play fortune teller.
Yes, please.
So I think initially I'm thinking of 3-3, but now with the very low turnout in Kelantan, it makes me rethink, is there going to be some shift in Kelantan that could possibly be something, right? But I also want to say something.
Sure.
In this PRN, we still have very low number of female representation,
representatives,
right?
yeah.
We only have 12% candidates, and therefore it will definitely lead to lower number of women in the state legislative assembly. And I really think that political parties need to back up more on this, ensuring women to be more represented in state legislative assembly and also in parliament. Yeah, so I'll end on that note.
All right.
Maybe 4-2 maybe.
4-2, okay, 4-2, that would be for PHBN.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
That's
bold prediction. Do you echo her prediction?
Okay, just to be different.
Just to be different. Yeah, just to be different. Yeah, why not?
I'll say 4-2, but in the opposite way.
Oh, which state is that?
Meaning that, well, Selangor has been 50-50 since January.
Sure.
So not necessarily because I like it, but because what I'm seeing in terms of what I'm sensing is that there's a marginal chance that that PN and PAS will retain the 3 states, and Selangor swings to PN marginally.
PN marginally.
Yeah. However, the more interesting result to me would be what happens in Negeri Sembilan.
Yeah.
Because I think in Negeri Sembilan there will be not a change of government per se, but a change in MB.
Oh, okay.
So I suspect that the MB will be BN.
Yeah.
Because
KJ came out with a statement today earlier in saying that if BN wins more seat than PH, then it will be an UMNO MB.
No, well, that actually was the understanding in the political groupings and most people's understanding. That was the original agreement.
Okay.
It was quite a surprise for us. Suddenly, it was declared that Aminudin was going to be MB again. In the first place, we don't even know whether he can win. And most people forget this. Yeah. The difference between PH during the last election, meaning PRU 14, was bersatu. And we saw PH collapse in Negeri Sembilan, other than the traditional seats, without bersatu there. Yeah. So I actually think that it's very likely if that BNPH does retain it, but with a BN leadership. And for me, if that is combined with the 4-2, that would be cataclysmic for PKR in particular, because then PKR and PMX will be the first prime minister with no MBs from his own party, if we don't consider PH as a party.
All right. Yeah? So we will definitely have a look out of these predictions, whether or not they will be true or not. Don't ask my crystal head ball, because that will not give you any ideas. But these professionals, these experts would definitely have an idea of how things are going. Just to echo a bit of what Dr. has actually mentioned, there are 71 female candidates in comparison to 499 male candidates across the 6 states here for PRN for the state election for this for this election. All right, we have come to the end of our show. Thank you so much to Dr. Rabi'ah together with Encik Akram. Thank you so much for coming down. Really insightful, really enjoyable session that we have had with them. Hope you guys at home enjoy yourselves. You still have time to go out and cast your vote, regardless of wherever it is that you are, in Penang ke, Kedah ke, automatically the logat comes out automatically. You could be in Kelantan, Terengganu, Negeri Sembilan or Selangor. Just do your duty, folks. At the end of the day, it's not, I mean, it does matter. Your vote does matter, even if you're that only one vote. It all that matters for you to show your love and commitment towards your country and to your state, of course. My name is Meor Addelan. It has been a pleasure. Hope to see you guys again very soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Assalamualaikum.